everyone, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, and joined always by my lovely and talented co-host, Jen Albanese. Good evening, Jen.
Maury. Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Another podcast. Very excited. Got a
I
really
know.
good guest
We got a great
tonight.
guest come in, and a little bit later. He wanted a later time frame than our normal, so drink
So it
some
happens
Diet
with
Pepsi.
kids. You gotta go with what works for the kids, and you gotta put them to bed. So
Exactly. So we're on the later time schedule.
So what do you have your Diet Pepsi? What are you drinking your Diet Pepsi
No,
out of?
so actually I do have water tonight, but I woke up, and for those that are on the video podcast, I am showing that I woke up this morning and there was a package on our countertop with a letter for Jen and I. And I guess no one broke into my home and put a package there. So my lovely wife left something for us today, and I brought it, and I did not open it till I saw Jen. And then we opened it up, and we had these great mugs that she made with the logo of the podcast. And
Isn't that so cool? Everybody's gonna want one, Maury, now.
Oh my,
Everybody.
it's a merch madness already.
I love it. Oh, she's the best. She said to her favorite 2 podcasters. So we felt very special. So we love you, Liz. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, honey. It was great. That was a nice surprise. Cheers.
With our water.
Cheers. So I guess while we're talking about my wife, I'll talk about the insanity that is you and my wife's relationship with Taylor Swift, because that's the other thing that's come up more recently in our lives.
Well, I mean, we're Swifties. Let's be real. We're all just going to admit it. We're Swifties here. Come on.
So it started with you all traveling to Canada. That was the original plan.
Yeah. So as everybody knows, she's on the Eras tour. We did not get the queue or whatever to buy like regular tickets through Ticketmaster,
which was like a very big deal in my house. It was a very sad day when
we all tried. Everybody that we knew put our name in. Nobody got it. It was very upsetting. And yes, the closest place that she's coming to us is Toronto. So we've been monitoring the tickets, and they're an extreme amount of money, like thousands of dollars. And then of course she goes and adds Tortured Poets, the new album, to the Eras tour. And,
no idea what's going on, but keep going.
And now the tickets are skyrocketing because it's the new album and it's another era that she's adding into the concert. So yeah, so again, the plan.
So I'm sitting on my couch, and my wife goes, "Well, I bought these I don't even want to say how much she bought these tickets for." And then she goes, "Well, I might sell them, and maybe we'll go abroad to see Taylor Swift." So
to be honest, it's not a bad idea because it's cheaper. And understand this, it's cheaper to fly overseas to Europe, anywhere where she is right now in her European leg of the tour. It's cheaper to fly there and get the tickets than it is to go to Toronto, which is 5 hours away from us.
So we are now contemplating going to Poland.
Hey, when else would we ever go to Poland?
I actually I think the concerts are good. We've already been to 2 of them. And the funny thing is, because we've all been together, and they were nice, but I don't need to spend crazy amounts of money. I think I would be more interested in actually going abroad, though. Like, to me, that's where it is interesting.
Right.
Now, I don't think you and my wife agree, but.
Well, I think it's a full trip, and it's like
you
have to make it more worth it if you're going to travel that far. But the fact that the tickets are so less expensive there than they are here is just, it's insane.
Yeah, like you can buy a flight, stay in hotels for multiple days with the tickets abroad than it would cost.
You're not close to what it would. You're about just the same.
Yeah,
to go 5 hours away.
So now we might go to Poland. So
we'll keep everybody
Warsaw,
updated.
Poland. Didn't ever think about Warsaw, Poland being in my travel plans, but hey,
you never know. So
you never know, and it might not be Poland. We'll keep people updated. You can follow our social media accounts about
our socials where
what country we might end up watching Taylor Swift in.
And maybe we'll do a podcast from that country, Maury.
That would be like an abroad podcast. Well, today's guest would think that's absolutely insane, so I don't know if we should talk to him about it, but he would laugh at it, but I think he'd think it's nuts.
He would.
All
right.
We will we will get ready to talk to our guests and be back after this break. So we'll see everyone when we get back. If you're enjoying this podcast, please follow us on your favorite podcast streaming service. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting, a group focused on educating and guiding high school and college students looking towards careers in athletics. To find out more, go to our website at www.athcareer.com. That's ATHCAREER.
Okay, everybody, we are back, and Maury, it's time to introduce our guest.
I'm very excited about this one. We are very lucky today to have a man that would describe as dynamic, hardworking, creative, and always looking to be at the forefront of athletics. A college student athlete that then a marketing assistant at Fordham and went on to focus on ticket sales, joining the IMG Learfield team with roles at Columbia and Army. Staying at Learfield IMG, became the Northeast Regional Manager, overseeing properties like Akron and Penn State. After leaving IMG Learfield, he expanded his career, spent time at Syracuse overseeing ticket sales, corporate partnerships, and marketing before going on to his current role as Deputy Athletic Director of External Operations at the University of Cincinnati. Happy to welcome Anthony DiFino. Welcome, Anthony.
Hi,
Thank
Anthony.
you. Thank you for having me. I need that hype man at all times. It's great.
I'll just come behind you. And
you forgot one thing. My former boss. We should probably add that in there.
Colleagues. We were colleagues.
Yes.
Who kept you in line?
We're so happy to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. This is going to be a blast. Heard great things.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Jen was very excited to get on a podcast. So then you were definitely at the top of our list of people.
Well, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Sorry I'm microphone-less, but I will do my best to help out the youth of this.
You're coming through very clearly. Don't worry.
Yeah, we can hear you good. It's me that we're struggling over here on the technical side.
So to start off, give us what your first tip or trick would be for the audience.
First tip or trick is to surround yourself with great people who want to go in the right direction with you and share your vision. Just surround yourself with people that will support you and you will support them. I reach back to the time we all worked together. It was awesome. A few growing pains as you kind of learn about each other and figure out everybody's kind of personality and characteristics that make them, really be motivated through what they're doing. But find those people that you can surround yourself with, your little army. If it's 2 people, 10 people, it doesn't matter. Find people you can have fun with at work, because you got to have fun, or else it's just a job. But I'd say find your champions. You don't need mentors. I mean, you do need mentors, but when it comes to work, find that group that you can have a lot of fun with. Inside work, outside work, doesn't matter, and you can support each other.
I feel like you're always really good at cultivating those people too, because they might not have necessarily been there when you got there, but I feel like you really go out of your way to like search out and find who might be the next good person to like bring into your fold.
Well, it's fun finding what makes people tick. And, there's sometimes people are, just going through it, maybe hit a rut, and you got to find what makes them smile. But I believe that you shouldn't sit behind your desk all day. You should get up, walk around, just say hi to people and get to places maybe you never would think about getting to. And if people don't think you belong there, well, find a way to make yourself belong. It's your workplace. You should have connections throughout. It should, if in the sports industry, if you work in marketing, it doesn't mean you can't be in the strength and conditioning room. Those are people at some point you could hire someday down the line, because this is the industry. You're going to move around. So I think make yourself uncomfortable with the relationships you try to seek out, and just have fun doing it.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, when you were our boss here at Syracuse, well, my boss, not yours, more. That was definitely
sometimes it felt like he was my boss.
I'm direct. I'm
It's
sorry.
fine.
No,
I
that's good.
appreciated it.
That was really something that I think we got to a great point where we all worked really well together. And it's that relationship. Those relationships are so key to reaching the goals and what you want to make, what you want to do wherever you're at, whatever goals you're trying to reach, whether it's for football or basketball. And if you don't like the people you're working with or you struggle with that, it's going to be hard to work together towards one single goal. So that's really key. And I think that Maury's right. You definitely are really great at that and cultivating those relationships. So that's an important one for people to understand.
Well, thank you. There's some people that made it really easy, and others you're gonna have to work on. It's life. So you're not gonna love everybody you're around. So you got to work on it.
Or find the pieces that you can love if you can figure that out.
Yes,
Absolutely.
right.
So, tip number 2.
Tip 2, I would say, always be ready to learn. Whether you're sitting in front of your boss in a yearly review and you're getting some feedback you might not like, but you got to sleep on it for a day or two and do a lot of self-reflection and understand what they're trying to say. Because in the moment, you could be very passionate about like, oh, I'm better than what they think, but they're trying to help you. I think just be open-minded to that. And I don't mean reading 1,000 books a year. Some people would go on, hey, I've read 1,000 books this year, but did you learn, right? So if you're reading intentionally, how do you apply it to your job? If you're in a situation, even if it's a conversation that you felt like, man, I could have had a better conversation there. Play it back in your head. How would you do it again? Find those little teaching moments for yourself, but also be open-minded to critiques. I think a lot of the times when I was younger, I would kind of be very defensive. Sometimes I still am. It's something I have to continue to work on. But be open to that. Be open to learn. I think everything's a learning experience. And if you're seeking that out and you understand that type of mentality, one of the greatest bosses I ever worked for was Diane Murphy when I was at Columbia.
Yeah.
And, it's an institution of higher learning at the highest level. They're not going off and winning college football playoffs, right? Because one, they can't, because Ivy League doesn't allow it. But she taught me such a great lesson early on is that, she would hold what she would call the mid-managers back, kick the unit leaders out of the room and just say, hey, look, this is your learning time. When you're in meetings, you're learning. When you're with me, you're learning.
Yeah.
When you're with your colleagues at the bar, you're learning. Like always find a way to take a lesson out of something. And I, at 22 years old, that really hit because then I stopped seeing her as like a boss. I started seeing her as an educator. And every time we were in a meeting, I'd watch her. Whether she was taking notes or just bored. And how did she get out of the boredom in meetings? Well, she would just be direct. Like, all right, this meeting's going nowhere. Let's get up. Let's all leave and let's start over.
Yeah.
And to me, that's learning. And I would take that with me. Like, do I apply that today? Probably. But at the same time, when I'm sitting with my coworkers or someone that reports to me, I got to be very cognizant of how are they taking what I'm saying. If I'm being too direct and too New York, then
Upstate New York.
right, yeah, I have to be mindful that maybe they're like 23 or 26 or 32-year-old Anthony. That sometimes I'd be a little defensive. So I got to work on my approach and understand if I'm trying to do the same thing, how am I giving them a learning experience? So it's kind of working both ways for me. But I think tip 2 is just try to be someone who's always learning. And this industry is not easy. I look at Jen, and when we got to Syracuse, it was very hard for us to kind of determine what was the marketing role there. And and then we had a shared vision. I think Jen was willing to learn. I was willing to learn. I didn't hopefully come in with this mindset, we have to do it this way, but we took in a lot of data. We did a lot of surveying. We tried to understand what the fans want. We had to learn it, put our ego aside, and then determine that, okay, the marketing department was kind of more promotions and posters and t-shirts. We turned it into surveys and data and listening to our fans and working towards something they wanted.
Yeah.
So even in that
fan
instance,
experience.
yes.
Yeah.
And I thought we did a phenomenal job, making a lot of strides. And that's because we were all willing to learn. Especially now, industry's changing faster than it ever has been. We have to be willing to learn from other industries and apply it here. So I think that's tip 2, is just always be someone who's looking for that experiential learning, and don't be too defensive when it comes to critiques.
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to deal with it.
We're gonna all say we're in the same boat. And as managers, and I feel like that's the one thing. And we talk about talking to students, but I'm sure there's people that are like being a manager for the first time or starting off in that like mid-manager role. And I feel like you and I have talked about this before. It's like, how do you say things to other people or to your staff to make it a positive experience, and some of from our own experiences, and how do you turn it into something that helps them grow, not just, putting information out there for the sake of putting information out there. So
yeah, you're
awesome.
Right about the defensive thing. I mean, I think everybody has that a little bit in their, in their personality, just they don't, but being able to accept that the criticism and grow from it only makes you better. And when you finally learn to accept that, which I think it takes a little bit of time, then you can do big things. Then you can really make changes and help yourself get to that next level. So yeah, that's
awesome. Great tip.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3.
See, Maury, you're on it. You are
I'm on today.
it tonight. Good job, Maury.
Number 3 is going to be easy. It's have fun. I mean, I use this analogy a lot. It's you're not, and sorry to the accountants, you're not sitting, you're not an accountant on the 97th floor of some office building and looking out and watching everyone. You work in sports. You have the greatest job ever. Now, most people think you just work at football games every single day for 300 plus days a year. That's not true.
Just stand on the sidelines and just stand on the sidelines and do nothing.
They see the sexy part of our job, right? Mm-hmm. They see you get to wear the credential and the suit and you're near the players. And, I barely interact with players because, our job is really a business, but you got to have fun. It goes back to surround yourself with great people that you can have fun with. If your job or your career becomes boring and you're not having fun, then it's probably not the right spot for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you take in this industry, you could take a bad job not knowing what it was really about. You got to do your homework. You got to understand where you're going. You got to know where you want to live geographically. I've seen some people take jobs that take them somewhere that made them uncomfortable, but they couldn't get over that uncomfortability and they couldn't have fun and they didn't know who they were truly working for. So do your research about who you're going to work for. Ask a lot of questions.
Culture.
This job could take you really far. Yeah. You got to have fun. I mean, like there's how many times that we all were working on something that we just say, man, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, this is fun. It's challenging. It's hard work, but we were having fun. And, it's every day you gotta find a way to have fun, whether it's with your staff, when you're managing, or just in general. Like when you walk into the office, you're like, yes, it's time to go. It's go time. This is going to be fun. Or you walking in going, man, I don't want to do this today. Like sometimes you might have those days, but 90% of the time, if you're not walking in saying this is fun, then it might not be the job for you. And if you're just like, I just want to work football games, I want to do this, then it's not the job for you either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's a lot more than just football games.
And a lot of hours to put in to do it too, because you're not just going to go in from 9 to 5 and be like, okay, I'm just going to have fun from 9 to 5 and walk. Like you're in it for the long haul. So you better enjoy the time you're doing it. You got to have fun
at 7 a.m. on the quad when it's raining and we're putting up an arch that's too big for what we should have.
Shout out Emily Quigley.
Maury's yelling at you, saying, "What are you doing?" And it's still fun. Those are constructive conversations.
I'm still putting that arch up. How many years later?
Anthony still is here with us in spirit in the arch.
Every time I put that arch up, I think of you.
No, he curses you. He curses you. He doesn't think of you. He curses you.
I had fun watching Maury put that up.
I do too. They practice it in the field house sometimes, and I'm like, I'm just going to watch. I'm not even going to try.
I've tried to retire from it altogether. Sam, who has threatened to put holes in it to see if we can stop using it from now on.
If you post edit, I hope you could find a picture of this arch so people understand when it's on the computer and you're buying it, looks really small.
Oh, it's not.
And that little human to scale didn't really match up well.
No, there's such a good picture of Maury, you and Emily that we should post so people see it, because you guys are standing underneath it and it looks like
ants.
The Chrysler building above them.
Yeah, most people, it's like, is this like a moonwalk bounce kit? No, it is like a 40-foot. It's like a Macy's Day balloon.
And it had to have feet put on it so it could stabilize it. It's the only one that I saw. Everyone else like, oh, little arch. I have the feet were almost as big as I am just to keep the damn thing up in the air.
See, and we're still having fun.
But we are still using
having
it.
Fun.
Good memories. Having fun.
Memories, it's still happening.
We'll move on. Number 4. What do we got for number 4?
I'm going to go a little off the beaten path here. And I've seen a lot of people just kind of be like, yeah, this is my job. If you want to be successful, act like you are the boss. Act like you have your boss's job. Always raise your hand. Take on more than you probably need to. If you want to advance your career, sometimes you have to take risks. So maybe you're not ready to raise your hand and take on that project, but you're going to raise your hand and take on that project. But yeah, I told this to my staff when I was at IMG at Akron. Wear the suit. Let people pretend you're the AD, because they're going to seek you out. They're going to, at a football game, if a fan's having an issue, they're going to find the person with a credential and a tie on. Let them mistake you for being the AD, and don't be apologetic about it. Some people don't like the fact that I make our staff wear suits every game, or be presentable in that way. But that's a small example of just be highly professional and just act like you're the AD. So people will come up to you, engage them, interact with them, talk with them. But I think if you take that mindset of, I'm not just the deputy AD, or I'm not just the account executive, or I'm not just the marketing intern, you're always thinking bigger. I think you're able to what they call get to the balcony, right? Get off the dance floor, get to the balcony, see the bigger picture. And if you inject yourself into the workplace like that, and you think about what's the next steps for my boss, how would my boss react to this, then I think you're getting in better alignment with someone who should be one of your advocates for whatever you want to do next. Or if they leave, you are already acting like you have their job, so you should get their job.
Right.
So I think what I've seen far too often for those that will come to you and just say, hey, I want to be X, Y, or Z, and how come I'm not getting promoted fast enough, or how come I'm not, like, well, what are you doing now to separate yourself from everybody else? Well, I'm working hard. Well, are you working harder than everyone? Well, I work 12 hours a day, but that doesn't mean anything, right? Are you efficient with your 8 hours and getting a lot more done, and you're more aligned with leadership than just working 12 hours to work 12 hours? So, an example is some videographers will be, I made 1,000 videos this year. That's great.
Were they any good?
Were they any good? Were they high quality?
Did they have an impact?
Was the engagement level high? So, but hey, I'm a videographer, but I want to be an AD. Great. So what are you doing outside of being just a videographer in your mind? what are you taking on? Are you taking on more management? Are you raising your hand to start internship programs? And I think that's really where people find whether or not they can manage, and if it's for them, is managing before you're even a manager, and asking for some of those responsibilities. So yeah, I still take that mindset today is, if I'm the AD at Cincinnati, what is my next move? And I want to take as much off my AD's plate as possible. So I'm like, hey, give me whatever you don't want, or keep delegating to me. I'm happy to take on whatever. I'm never going to tell my boss no, unless it's against the law, which has never happened in my life. But I'm always going to be that person. Yeah, I got it. I might not know how to do it. I'm going to damn well try my hardest to figure it out.
Figure it out, right? You're going to
figure it out. I'm going to get the right people around me to help me.
I feel like we were on, so like two things I was thinking about is one, so many projects that you and I got on, and the one thing I can always appreciate about you is you're always willing to think big. Like you're not going to go in and say, hey, like, I'm going to take this on, but I'm going to just do it. You're always looking to like, how can I make the most out of the opportunity that I'm getting by doing this? And so things that a lot of people had tried to accomplish, I think that I had experience with, we were able to develop and actually put into effect because you were willing to say, hey, how can we think about this? Willing to make it as big as possible, figure out a way to make it work. And I've always appreciated about you because a lot of people would back down from those things. But then also to say, hey, I'm going to step into roles because I know that's good for my career and for me to keep jumping up, because a lot of people think, oh, well, if I just do what's asked of me and I do it well, it's enough. And the reality is that if you want to keep growing, you have to show that you can do the next thing. And people might not think that's right because I'm not paid for that. That's not in my job description. But every time that I've been promoted, it was usually connected to taking on something that was not in my original part of my job.
Every time, right?
Right.
But it's true, and I think what people miss more. I think you're being very nice, because I think we all worked on a lot of great things together. But there were people that almost didn't want us to have success because, oh, we tried that before,
right,
or that's never going to work. And we were like, we don't care. We have to try it, and we have to accomplish it. So there was really no failure on our end. We wouldn't allow that to happen, because I think some of the people who were roadblocks in some way,
right,
were very negative people who maybe weren't happy at their jobs. So I go back to kind of tip 3, be happy at your job. But tip 1, surround yourself with great people that have a shared vision, because we are not going to let anything fail. And that's my mentality still. Like,
I go back to a specific project, you and I, and we both wanted it to happen, but we kept talking about how's the best way to do it. And you and I would always find like a symbiotic relationship between, this is where I want to get to. And I'd say, oh, well, I think we can get it this way. And at some point between the two of us, we would get there. And that was like one of the best things for me professionally at my part of my career and working with you that I'll always appreciate, is that we would make each other better because we would challenge each other and then find a way to get to like an end result. And I always thought that's because you always push things to think big and go above, and push me to think, okay, how can I help him accomplish that?
Well, if you put the fans and the student athletes first, literally in college athletics, if you put those two people first and you shut out all the other noise and say, why are we doing this? Then we shouldn't let anything fail if it's important, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to surveys and data and everything that we were working with. And Maury, from start to finish, it was a great collaboration. And people who would kind of sit there and say, oh, this isn't going to work, we didn't put them part of the project. We just find a way to stiff arm them and say, well, you're too negative. And that's a great tip. Get the negative people out of the room. If they're going to sit there and not, there's a difference between being negative and constructive, right? The constructive is helpful. Like, hey, did you think about this? Or I'm not telling you not to do this, but let's
think of from this side of things. Yeah.
Then the negative though is,
this will never happen.
Yeah. What are you guys doing? And it's like, okay,
you're wasting your time.
See you later. We'll show you. And that was fun.
But you can, I mean, from experience, you can go to previous institutions that you've been at, and you can say this is projects that Anthony worked on and outcomes that still exist, today, because we talked about the arch to be funny about it, but that's reality that you put an imprint on people. So
should we talk about the dome tins too? Because
no, don't bring that one.
No, I don't know if that was a success, but it was.
Hey, we tried
it. Got it done.
We tried it.
If the measure is popularity, it was popular.
Yeah,
people liked
a lot
it.
of them.
There's a lot of them. COVID kind of ruined that one, but it's fine.
I know.
We had a master plan, but
people
COVID
liked them.
People did like them. We just had a lot of them. I still have some in the basement, so if you want any, just let me know.
Oh no, I got about 10 here. We're fine. Stuffed animals. It's great.
Exactly.
Last one, Jen, throw it out there.
So this is always the big question at the end. So what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
I think I need to speak to the intended listener here. I went into college and I graduated with a history and sociology degree. I was gunning to be a state trooper and wanted to go into the Secret Service.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, okay.
I didn't know
so I was
that.
full steam ahead. I was sitting in courtrooms in the Bronx, learning as much as I could. I got to the trooper test, did well. I made the cut to the top 300.
Okay.
About 2 weeks before I was reporting to the Trooper Academy, they cut the class to 200. Yours truly did not make the cut.
Oh.
I was devastated. But being a mascot in college and football player,
mascot,
I got
let's go.
Right. They were kind enough at Fordham to say, why don't you just stay down here in the Bronx, and why don't you work on some events and be a marketing assistant? And I was like, that sounds like fun. Let's do it. So when you're sitting in the Bronx making $300 a month and need a bartend 4 nights and you're working 16 hours, and you go through this and you're like, okay, this is fun. I'm enjoying it. Maybe I didn't study this undergrad, but whatever. I get into grad school. It's got a business and sports management degree. And I'm still loving it. I'm having fun. But if someone told me this was going to be my career, and I'm sitting there going, okay, how could I get better? It would be take as many business classes as humanly possible. Take as many sales classes, business classes, finance classes. I always was like, oh, well, I want to go to grad school. I'm going to think about a sports management degree. I'm going to tell them absolutely not. Go get your MBA, because in sports you learn on the job. You get your PhD, as a marketing assistant, throwing T-shirts out, selling sponsorships. You're part of a marketing crew, and then you get your next job, and you're making 100 phone calls a day trying to sell $5 tickets. You're gonna get your PhD in sports. But what you're not going to learn is kind of the basic business functions that I think really, especially now, would propel people at the highest level of college athletics into very strong roles. And then I just, learn how to sell, because no matter what industry you go in, because I see a lot of people go into sports then leave, but you still have to sell, whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, it doesn't matter. Go learn how to sell. Learn business, learn how to talk to CFOs, right? Be
articulate.
Yeah.
Be articulate. Learn how to communicate, and I don't mean like how to write a good email. I mean like how do you actually communicate?
Face to face. Yeah.
Hey, I need $10,000 to do an arch. How are you going to get that done with your CFO without them laughing at you and not seeing your vision? So spend a lot of time with people that will help you make decisions. But everything is a sales job. You have to be business oriented. So I'm not downplaying sports management degrees. I'm just saying if you can supplement it with as much business as you can, especially now, because we're headed down a road. We're not going to say those 3 letters. I refuse to say them.
I appreciate you holding back for the entire episode.
Yeah, you have to embrace it. Regardless of your personal feelings, you have to embrace where this is going, or it's not the industry for you. If you don't agree with
Right.
it, you don't have to
Right.
work in it.
Exactly.
Or you know, I hate like go work in Division 3 where it's not prevalent.
Right.
Even
Right.
when you go work in D3 or D2 and you know the revenue's not as high, you still need to know good business. I don't
Yeah.
care who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's important to note, because if I knew I was going to this industry and someone told me that, I probably would have taken a few more business classes undergrad. But you know, my whole career changed on a dime. And you know, a lot of people, you plan, you might not plan for this career. I love this career. It is awesome. I mean, what other job are you creating advertisements, buying advertisements, you know, writing emails, you know, copywriting, working on buying giant arches, selling sponsorships? It is really a PhD. There's no other job I could think of. And Jan, especially in the marketing office, your world is like you have to be an expert in 100 different things, and people actually don't know how hard of a job it is. They just say, "Oh, it's fun. You work in sports," or you, from an outside fan
Right.
thinks you could fix the cold pretzel. You know how to fix a cold
Right.
pretzel? You literally have to go through 100 people.
Exactly.
You know, and
Yeah.
it is.
So true.
It should be easier, right? But it is not. But you know, in this field, you have to be an expert in almost everything, and people expect that out of you. And it's okay to not know everything, but I go back to being someone who's very thirsty for knowledge and, you know, learning experiences. Right now, I'm probably excelling in some things because I screwed up and I failed when I was 21, 23, 27. It's okay to fail. Like, I tell that to my staff all the time. Like, I'd rather you fail, but don't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Learn from that mistake,
Learn from the mistakes.
move on,
Yeah.
and apply it. But I just go back to the core of this is going to be business related, and get as many business classes as you can. Don't take the sports communication class over learning financial accounting.
Yeah.
It sounds
I mean,
funny,
it's
but
for-
that's
it's
my
for-
personal belief.
Yeah, and it's for life too. Like business is, I mean, anything really is a business, and to understand that is going to help you, set you apart from other people.
They're the most applicable things you can learn, because, like you said, you can spread it across whatever you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, you know, if I'm going to learn facilities from Maury, I'm going to learn
Right.
marketing from Jan. I just
And-
got to sit there and talk and listen, but it's
I
very
didn't
hard.
get a degree in facilities, so I learned from doing it on the job. So
Right.
that's the reality of it.
That's sports. You know,
Yeah.
do you go to school to learn how to pull a tarp? Absolutely
No.
not.
No.
Or roll a T-shirt or write a script, or you don't learn how to do any of that in school, really.
No, I
I
hate to say it.
that. I hate to say that to interns too. They're always like, "Well, I learned this in school," and I want to be like, "You're going to learn so much more if you work this game and you help us do and implement everything we're trying to do. You're going to learn so much more than sitting in the classroom."
Yeah,
Sorry,
and tip 5.
every professor out there.
Yeah, but tip 5.5 would be, connect yourself to somebody while you're in an internship.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
learn from them. Sit there
Yes.
and watch them. You don't even have to ask them questions. Just see how they operate.
Yeah.
So I think that all, 5.5 tips. That's.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Well, we're getting a lot here.
We're getting a lot for a little.
10% more. Is that 10%? No, that's way more than
No.
10%. I don't know.
Yeah.
See, business. I don't know. I'm
Math.
really bad with fractions.
We're not good
I'll
with
tell you
math.
that. That's why I have
Well,
Excel.
We'll stop
Thank God.
that
I was
now.
just gonna say thank God for Excel.
Well, we're getting towards the end. Anthony, thank you so much for being here.
This was so great.
It's been great to see you. We appreciate great insight. We really appreciate everything. And
Yeah. Anthony, you're the best. Thank you so much. And
Well,
I
you
always,
stole my line, Jan. You're the best. Maury,
No,
you're the best.
I
Oh,
always say
always
like
fun.
that I learned so much from you. You were definitely the best boss that I've ever
Uh-huh.
had in my career.
Thank
And
you.
because you challenged me and you made me better and you gave me opportunities to grow. And I learned so much from you. And I hope that I am as good of a leader as you are today. So thank
no
you
doubt,
for
Jen.
everything.
and
We
tip
miss you, for sure.
5.75, don't give up on relationships. Make sure you keep connecting with people, because there's always more that you can do and see them in the future and learn from them.
So great.
Good to see you, man.
We miss you so much, Anthony. You're the best.
Friends for life. Look at this, right?
There you go. Well, we're going to end it here. Check out our next episode. Always connect with us at 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for Careers in Athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.